Behemoth, the Satanist. A record that came out many months ago at this point, but I'm choosing to review it now. I don't have a deadline on these things. Oh well. Let's just skip the introductions. Let's just get right into it. For those of you who know my channel, of course, know you can click... Dang it, it's reversed. Beach Therapy, right there. There's an annotation that will let you skip me talking in depth about each track on this album to things that will... details that pertain to the entire record, so there's not really any spoilers on any given track. But alright, first song, Blow Your Trumpets, Gabriel. You would think that this would work only as like an intro kind of song to the album, and that the rest of the album might be more aggressive, but it's really more of a good indicator for the rest of the record. Let me explain. Like, it starts off rather slow and brooding. There's a lot of suspense used here, and on the rest of the record, but it starts off with this song, just like slow-moving guitar chords, huge thundering notes that happen at intervals, and it has a really good flow to it up until this gigantic explosion in the second half. Oh my god, yes. This is where Behemoth suddenly just come out full force on all their instruments, not holding back at all, which is the reason why I fell in love with this band. And it's not gone here. I mean, like I said, this is a good indicator for the rest of the record, so there's a lot of suspense, but there are still those crazy moments. It's just, they're balanced out more. And there's some symphonic subtleties in this song, like horns and like choirs that are just like soprano voices that are just like so haunting amidst the crazy blast beats and crazy riffing part explosion that I talked about. This is a really good opener to the record. And then it gets into Furor de Venus. And I found this song brings back a little more of their black metal influence, but retains more of a high-paced energy all the way through, a lot like Behemoth's earlier material. And unlike how Blow Your Trumpets, Gabriel, the previous song, of course, takes a little while to get to that point. Tons of tremolo picking and chord playing fast on the guitars in this song. The chorus in this song is amazing too, but it's not one that'll get stuck in your head right away. There are some of those on this album, but this one is definitely one that warrants multiple listens. Although those first two riff sections will get stuck in your head a lot. Then we get into Messe Noir. Oh my god. It is so catchy. The very beginning of this song, how Nergal says, "I believe in Satan," just at the top of his lungs with like this incredible amount of conviction. And that is something that you will get from this album, is just conviction in the messages in it. His vocals are much more clear. They've evolved to that point in this stage of Behemoth having a bunch of albums, and they're really intelligible, so the messages are a lot clearer than, say, on an album like Demigod, you know? But the riffs in this song are particularly evil and angry, especially once it gets to the blast beat section towards the beginning of the song. Like, those of you who are familiar with Behemoth know that he was struggling with leukemia and almost died from that, but he fought it off. He got through it. He won that battle with cancer, and now there's just... I think Dom Lawson said it perfectly in his review, that there's this brimming vitality that he displays throughout the whole album, and it's definitely particularly visible in a song like this. And then the song just goes from this crazy evil to just this brilliant, like, just straightforward rockin' guitar solo at the end. It sounds weird and contrasting, but it works. That's how a lot of this record is. Then you get to Ora Pro Nobis Lucifer, which at the beginning there's some fading in voices that sound like Nergal is saying fart, but he's actually saying voice of an aeon, but you can misconstrue it as him saying fart. Anyway, there's a lot of really good harmonizing guitar lines in this song. Possibly some of the most anthemic work on the guitar on the album can be found here, and this is one of the first songs on the album, besides the opener, where Inferno really pulls back quite a bit. He doesn't do the blast beats all the time or the crazy runs and fills. Although there is one fill he does towards the end where you can hear the tom fill. Like, those were just recorded spectacularly. I love the tone that they got in the toms on the production on this record. After this song winds down, oh my god, one of the best songs on the record, Amen. This is the best song I've ever heard from Behemoth doing what they do best and what I fell in love with them for. Well, maybe not what they do best, because this record's shown them evolving to a point of something new, but nobody's holding back on their instruments in this song, except for like one dynamic contrast section, and it's just this pure, unadulterated assault of evil. Try not to headbang to this. Seriously, try not to headbang to this. And it has another explosion in it that's like the one on the first track that's just... Try particularly not to headbang to that. That's all I'll say. Just, oh my god. Every single riff in this song is godlike. I mean, you know. Then we get to the title track, The Satanist. It moves back into a contrast from the previous song. It has more elements of being a slower, just groove-laden, straight-up rock song. It's a bit more conventional. And I love the chorus to it, and it just has this incredible emotional climax in the middle of the chorus, in my opinion, when it gets to, like, the highest note in it. It's something you'd have to hear. And then the riff that gets, like, soloed over, it's so anthemic, like the stuff on Ora Pro Nobis Lucifer, but it was the perfect one to have them end the song with, because it just keeps building and building and becoming, at the end, not more of a rock thing, but it goes back into the crazy black metal stuff, and it ends off the song. Then there's the song Ben Sahar. I love, like, there's this more straight rhythm. It's like, if I could just sing the riff really quick, because I don't know if I could describe it. I love how they have more straightforward rhythms that evolve into a groove like that. That's something that's pretty signature to Behemoth, in my opinion. And then there's even more infectious vocal lines in the song, like Agnus Dei and stuff like that. It's definitely got parts that'll get stuck in your head. How I would describe the song in general, though, is like everything that the album's thrown already at you coalesces in this song into a climax that makes the ending of it more powerful. And there's some really cool guitar sweeps in there, too. Well, really mostly just one, but I really like the notes used in it. And next, In the Absence of Light, probably my favorite Behemoth song ever now. Another one that's just straight into the chaos like Amen was, but more melodic this time, and with a more of a diatonic natural minor, because Behemoth used a lot of notes from, like, Arabian scales. But it works. It works so well. You know what else works well? The last thing you'd expect to be on this album and in this song. Sudden break away from the metal, and there's just an acoustic guitar and a saxophone and some spoken word. But it sounds gorgeous, and the contrast is absolutely mind-blowing and just so cool. And there's just brilliant use of suspense all throughout this song. Like, the same suspense in this part in Amen where there's some dynamic contrast and there's just some tom rolls before it gets into the explosion. There's another super heavy explosion in this song after... There's another super heavy explosion in this song, too, and then, oh my god. Just, in the middle of one of the riffs, it goes into this outro, almost to kind of, like, cut off the album where it needs to. Because, like, it's the penultimate song. There's only one more song on the record. This song could keep going in this contrasting, trajectory, like, forever. Like, slower, and then faster, and then less tension, and then building the tension, but it cuts it off here because it knows that there needs to be one more song. And that is O Father, O Satan, O Son. Very drawn out at about 8 minutes. It's just really, it starts off with just a minute of droning chords, but after that there's like this bass line. that is so sexy. Oh my god, that the next riff is built on, and it's awesome. But as with the previous song, this final track is really a little more melodic and definitely more impactful emotionally, because one of the elements of it is that Nurgle uses his screams like he does throughout the record, his typical, like, modern Behemoth screams, and I mean modern, like, they're just more intelligible and less sort of death growly. But he also sings notes over them, so it's like aggression combined with, like, what you can only really convey with singing, which is awesome. And this song, in one word, is something I already described is present in a lot of the songs on this record, but just culmination of pure conviction from Nurgle, especially in the spoken word outro with this enormous fucking riff to close off the album. Oh my god. Nurgle has come back, album as a whole, by the way, Nurgle has come back feeling more alive than ever, and just, it shows so much in this music. I mean, I was a fan of Demigod and The Apostasy already, both of which being, like, near perfect extreme metal records for me, but this just takes their sound to a whole new level. The album's production, to start off with, it's incredibly organic, even, like, compared to their past work. The bass is thumping and fits perfectly in the mix for this kind of music, but it's not the most audible. Like, when it is, though, it's really cool to hear what it's doing. The guitars cut like a blade, like they just cut into you, but they also feel alive in the sense that they're breathing. There's some points where there's some, like, atmospheric, like, sounds and samples on this album, like some sort of creepy, eerie breathing. The guitars feel like they're doing that, too. They feel like this colossal, demonic beast. And this is especially clear when they play some of the lower notes, or slower notes, excuse me. There's a little bit of compression that I noticed on the drums, but the guitars are mixed so loud in comparison to, say, the kick, which really, I can't hear that much compression personally on this album at all. There is a little on the kick, but, I mean, I could be hearing it wrong, you know, I haven't gotten too much experience in this yet, but whatever. The vocals, like I said earlier, they've evolved over the span of the past 10 years from Nurgle to become much more clear and intelligible, and much more of a less death-growled sort of scream. And this allows them to have more anthemic lines, very, very memorable lines across the album. But sometimes he does go a little more into that growly, little less enunciated sound, and it's where the aggression is necessary to complement something, like, partially contrasting that's going on underneath, a perfect, like, piece in the puzzle. Mostly the riffs, though, getting more into that side of the music, the instrumental side, that, and to a slight extent the drums, are definitely different now than, say, they were 7 years ago. Focusing more on moods and exercising restraint than being chaotic most of the time, like on a record like Demigod, you know, with Towards Babylon. So that when the chaos comes back, though, you lose your shit even more. It's like, if you have enough quiet parts, the loud part will sound loud as hell, and if you have enough loud parts, the quiet part will sound very soothing. Inferno's brilliant on this record. Like, he alternates and complements whatever's needed from the other instruments for him to be playing just so well. And he fits into the mix in that sense well, too, because, like, I feel like on The Apostasy, his drums were mixed really loud, so you could really, really get into what he's doing and hear all the finesses of just the craziness that he's got going on. But in this, he's a bit more pulled back, except for where he needs to be. He's not as prominent in the nutso aspects of his playing, but it's really awesome, I think. These parts are also, that they're playing, have changed in how they've been structured to piece together the song. that Nurgle has crafted here. Or the songs, excuse me. Because it's not so much the tonalities that he's using, like the note choices. That's pretty similar to past Behemoth stuff, I'm not going to lie. However, the songwriting in structuring the parts together, it's even more memorable than their already incredibly well-written past material. It's a little more conventional in nature, but it works. It really sticks with you. And there's a lot of subtle touches in here added to, like, the inflections of their playing that push the songs up even more to just the right amount of quality. This whole album, as such, feels really meticulously crafted. Like I was talking about earlier in the track by track, if you watched that, it has a flow, sort of an up and down of dynamic contrast that it goes through, with more pulled back parts and more in your face, like everything at once, nobody's holding back parts. Just how the order of the songs and the order of the riffs in each song accomplish this. It's just makes it a really rewarding listen. I don't normally listen to albums actually all the way through the first time I try them out, the first time I listen to them. But I did with this because, like I said, I have seen Dom Lawson's review of this record, and he said that to really get the full scope, you need to do that. I was like, okay. So I did it, and it was rewarding. Rating-wise for this album, I mean, I've been giving it a lot of praise, clearly. Not much in the way of negative stuff. Is it perfect? No. There's a couple points, admittedly, on here where the album isn't as strong as some of the other parts, like, maybe a bridge riff in Ora Pro Nobis Lucifer, or the intro to Ben Sahar, but does it come super close, like Behemoth have in the past for me? Fuck yes. This is still one of the strongest records of the year, and it's already the beginning of September. 9.5 out of 10. I'll catch you guys whenever I manage to do another album review. Peace out. Keep it metal.